Well, February 15th here in Southern Ontario, Canada. Let's look at some really crude math. Some math that the government probably doesn't want you thinking about or us talking about. The math I'm referring to, of course, is the items that the government claims they're going to buy back. At last, government numbers were 2.3 million legal registered owners. Now that's owners. Let's round that up to 2.5 quite readily, because over the last year, it's been on a real bell curve, but anyways, let's say over the last year, 2 and 3 years, sales of those items and people procuring the documentation to legally purchase said items has really gone through the roof. So have all the same numbers in illegal ones, but that's not our subject matter here at the moment. Now, I don't think that anybody who's gone through the time, grief, and expense to get the documentations necessary to possess these legally, procure and possess. So let's say it's now 2.5 million times 2. Everybody owns 2. I think they probably own more, but we'll work with 2. That would be 5 million. 5 million legally owned items. Now, in our last election, there were 28.6 million eligible voters out of almost 40 million Canadians, including Trudeau's importing of votes, because that isn't we haven't had a census in a while, but that's neither here nor there. So let's eliminate a lot of the elderly people, right? So we'll say there's 25 million adults, and we, to rise up against the tyranny, finally recognize this bill we're talking about, the buyback program, Bill C-11, Bill C-18, digital ID, digital currency, etc. Let's say it gets as ugly as it inevitably must and no one wants, and it's now on the streets. So we have then 25 million adults, irate, upset, martial law, call it that. We don't use that term in Canada, but that's what it would be. And there are 5 million of these items out there. Guy gives one to his buddy. So there's at least 5 million out of 25 million. 1 in 5 then possess said items. This is what the government's worried about. This is why the government wants them. And don't think it isn't. And again, I think to say that each legitimate registered owner would own more than 2 of them. Anyone I know who has gone through that expensive and arduous process, they seem to own 4 or 5 of them. I don't know for a fact. I'm not part of that. I don't own any, but the numbers, there's an insight into it, isn't there?